Good morning. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. How's everybody doing today? Hello, Linda. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. Oh, whew. Quiet morning. Hey, Garpu. Hope everyone's rest of their day yesterday went well. Mine was pretty normal. Wasn't anything special. Just working on a bunch of different things, prepping for the trip coming up. Good morning. Is that AJ or is that somebody else? It went to feel like it's someone who should know me. I don't know. But yeah. Hello everyone. I think things are gonna get wild. I mean, they already are, but I think they're gonna get more wild as time goes on. I'm with the ridiculous claims from people regarding Texas or California elections, with Graham Platner winning the primaries. It's just gonna be so wild. Like I don't I'm struggling with this perspective that so many people have, that they think that a candidate can be brought forth that everyone can like, and that is, it's just not reality. I mean, we've already seen it. There are now people that were super fans of me that aren't anymore because of the way I perceive things or the way I handled certain things. You think that won't happen with everybody? Now, again, I'm not trying to be like, oh, we don't need to, we just need to give these people a pass or anything. It's, I don't know. Maybe the problem is me. I don't know. A quiet day today. Like a very quiet day today. Like someone said hi to me and then retracted their message. Hey, Philip. Good morning. Ceasefire, huh? Yeah. Yeah. It was a great ceasefire. It was like perfect ceasefire. So good. The best ceasefire we've ever had. No one's ever had a ceasefire like this. Gosh. $6 gas by August 1st. I mean, at the rate things are going, that is a distinct possibility. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's weird. Oh yeah, Nancy. Well, and the funny thing was, I was talking to someone about it, and I think what made it even more hilarious and a very shows the reality of politics right now, especially how crappy in certain cases it is. Nancy Mace was absolutely bashing one of the other people running. Like like bashing. And then when she lost and she conceded, she then went and endorsed that same person who she was bashing. And it's like, dude. And I mean, that's not a surprise. We saw it with Marco Rubio, we saw it with Ted Cruz. Yes. Mace was running for governor. Yep. And got absolutely annihilated. Like got like 10,000, 15,000 votes. It was really bad. I just remember her denying that Trump actually endorsed the lady that won the day the endorsement was announced. Yeah, I mean, again, I appreciate that she is helping push the Epstein file stuff, but she's a piece of shit too. I'm sorry. She is. And it's not gonna get this midterm election is gonna be wild. I'm not looking forward to what's coming out. Seeing the bullshit coming from people who are angry that Spencer Pratt lost in the primaries in a city that is 55% registered Democrat and 14% registered Republican. What did they think was going to happen? Spencer's a joke. Unfortunately, what's not funny is the bullshit coming from everyone who's angry that he lost for whatever reason. Because I don't believe that's the case, Garpu. I still don't, because there is no way to shut down the midterms. And again, does that mean they won't try? You know, at this point, I wouldn't. Yes, they can make it hard. I think they're going to make the midterms a pain in the butt. And that's being kind. What's up, Scott? They're just that stupid, though. I wouldn't be surprised if some people try to do something. That I agree with. That I agree with. Inflation rises to 4.2%. So much winning. So much winning. Now, again, does California need to update the way it counts? Yes, I think it does. The fact that it takes as long as it does, I think is a little extreme. Worried about voter suppression more than the actual counting of votes. Facts. I agree. I don't think a majority of people realize how bad it is. I think a majority of people just see their situation as bad and that's all they think about. That's a different problem. So yeah, I don't think a majority of people realize how bad it's going to get, but I also don't think a majority of people realize how, like, that it's bad in the first place. Their jungle primary goes away in 2028. What does it go to in 2028? Like back to a normal style primary? I think so, but unsure. Gotcha. What? How? So I got a question for everyone. How many times do you think that the trolls over on TikTok are going to mention what inflation was at the beginning of Biden's term, because I'm going to be talking about inflation being 4.2%. How many? What do you think the percentage? Ugh, God. No, but they're being told what to say. I think a good chunk. I think there will definitely be a good chunk that will. Anything that makes it seem like they aren't as, that the people they supported aren't as bad as they are. Morning, Marie. Trump would say 500%. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty close. How are you doing today, Marie? Doing okay. Doing okay. You know, just thoughts on Mike Johnson talking about cutting Medicare and Medicaid and SSI. Thoughts on it? Well, par for the course. Whatever happened with Venezuela? Nothing, because what? Nothing happened. That's the point. Nothing changed over there, really. What's up, OC? Is the Fed going to actually raise rates now? That'll be very interesting to see. I'll be very interested to see what happens. Oh, did it do that again? Dang it. Knew I forgot something. I am feeling well today. Thank you. Trying to find out how to turn it off. You hear the testimony of the victims. The victims of what? All right, I'm gonna stop the live and start it back up so I can turn off this auto bleep crap. I'll be right back. This is so annoying. Auto bleep. Okay. My son has 5 children. Can't imagine the increase in grocery bills. Me neither. That's gonna be wild. Like, I don't think people realize how bad it is. I don't think people realize that this administration has taken more gas out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in 1 month than any other president ever has. I mean, there's a lot of people suspecting that rates will increase, but considering who's the guy in charge, who knows? Hey, OC. I'll be very interested to see what comes of any of this. Yeah, I mean, other countries are already dealing with gas stations not having gas for periods of time. And we probably won't deal with that problem. We're more likely to deal with the problem of we're more likely to deal with the problem of gas getting so expensive that companies are less likely to ship it out, but that still means it's more expensive for us. That is more likely what will happen. Is supply and demand will cause the price to go up locally so much that it won't be worth. It'll actually be more of greater profit to sell more here and ship out less. That is most likely what's going to happen. Good morning, Kat. My son's employer insurance is horrible. $8,000 deductible, 1 child ear infection this week, second a possible broken arm from rollerblading, a $600 out of pocket in 3 days. That's dang. Morning, Teach. When do what films come out? I mean, that's That's getting more and more normal for a lot of people. About America being brave leaving? What? The GOP burning political capital to pass CBP funding by using budget reconciliation was a small victory. Yeah. Highly suspicious of only 4.2% inflation. It's probably over 5 if it were factually true. Well, I mean, yeah, I haven't looked deep into it. I just saw the reporting before going live, so I haven't looked what that actually entails. But I wouldn't be surprised if certain areas it's higher. I mean, definitely when you're talking like energy costs, probably higher than 4.2%. But again, what you'll see to counter some of the inflation is luxury goods dropping in prices, getting less of a margin on luxury goods. The problem is for the average person, they're not buying a lot of luxury goods anymore, so that doesn't help them. I'd be interested to see what the inflation rate what would be if you only took necessities. Hey, Didi. What's a luxury good? A non-necessity. Things that aren't necessary to survive. Hence luxury. So necessities, food, housing, energy, transportation, insurance. Healthcare in general. It's sad where the world is going. I mean, yeah. Yeah, of course it's sad. Um I've said this before. I believe what we're going through is a societal shift. This is what happens, Riley, when a majority of the country chooses not to be involved in politics. This is what happens when for especially the last 40 years or so, we as a country chose to not be involved in politics. This is what happens when 15 to 25% of of voting age people vote in primaries. Your choices end up being what those 15 to 25% want. Oh, I fully admit that I was part of that group too, and see where I was the problem. I would argue, Timothy, it is more that we as Americans have been taught for a good chunk of our life to only care about ourselves. We have been taught. I mean, the Middle East could always easily control the flow of oil. But yes, unfortunately, humanity has a long history of voting against our own interests. Like that, unfortunately, is a human history thing. You'd think with larger access to information, we would be able to be better at it. But oh, I understand. He played him. Uh because we have identity politics going on now. That we are so full into identity politics. And that is a large chunk of this country on all sides. There is some, we are so focused on whatever identity we have that we've literally started shutting ourselves off to everyone else, even people that we believe in or that we agree with in like on like 90% of the thing. And that's going to make life so much more difficult. What's up, Scott?
Hi, Mike. Boy, you brought me up early today.
Yeah, well, I didn't bring any. No one came up yesterday. There was no one who usually comes up here yesterday. So,
Yeah, that's a very concerning inflation report, obviously. Can't say it was unexpected. We expected it to jump. I don't know if we thought it would jump all the way to 4.2, but that's disconcerting. On the plus side, or at least the okay side, I wouldn't call it a plus side. There is no plus side to a report like this. The core inflation rate, which excludes the volatile gasoline and food costs, was about 2.9, about 2.9 or 3%, one or the other. And that's still bad, but not as bad. My worries are the effects on the farming of these increases with fertilizer and diesel fuel. Haven't seen those yet. So they are still to come that are going to force inflation even higher. And finally, the thing to remember, oh my God, 4.2%, how much of that is the tariffs? None of it. The tariffs are already factored in. They've been tariffs have been here for more than a year. So this is 4.2% above the prices that were raised because of the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
They only count year to year, and we've already had the tariffs for more than a year, so they will no longer show up in the inflation report. But they're still there. We're still paying for them. So the really depressing part is that we're paying 4.2% over and above where we were with tariffs.
Yep.
So this is not good for the American consumer.
And Officer Rocky, when you say gas is down, do you mean gas is down from its highest point over the last 100 days? Because that's not a flex. Oil has gone down from its high because this administration keeps pretending that there's a ceasefire happening. So yeah, people, you know, oil has gone down a bit. It's still higher than it was before the war started, and gas is still higher than it was before the war started. Gas goes up and down all the time.
Well, if you listen to Mr. Global or listen to the president of Exxon and the president of Chevron, they have said basically we're in the eye of the hurricane now, with the worst part to come.
Mm-hmm.
The worst part meaning that our distillate inventories of gasoline, diesel, jet fuel are near historic lows, in addition to the cutoff of the 20% coming out of the Persian Gulf. So that means that as soon as our strategic reserves run out or get to a very low number, the price of gas is going to skyrocket, and they anticipate that coming third week of July to the 1st of August. So about 5 weeks from now, we should see we'll remain in the eye of the hurricane, but then the seas are going to get very, very rough.
Oh, and again, I will point out, I think I said it just a little while ago, but it's important to keep reminding people, this administration has pulled out more gas from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve than any other president in 1 month period ever has.
Yeah, and the bad part about that is it wasn't as if we had a ton in our strategic reserve to begin with. When Joe Biden left the White House, he had already appropriated, Congress had already appropriated money to refill the strategic reserve, and we didn't do it. Trump took that money and gave it away in the big, beautiful bill for tax cuts for billionaires. I'll bet we wish we had that oil that we could have bought at a very low price at the beginning of the Trump administration. The money was there. It was sitting there. It was already appropriated. It was specific, and he took it out. And I'll bet we wish we had that right now, because the cost to refill the strategic reserve now is going to be astronomical.
And the oil that he got rid of from the reserve, he didn't sell for a profit so we could actually do things like pay our bills. No, he gave it to oil companies as a loan for them to be able to sell at a high cost and then sell back to us at whatever cost they feel like. So we're not even, the taxpayers aren't even benefiting from our own oil that we helped pay for. Hey, Jeremiah. Hey, Clara.
Well, at least the oil companies are benefiting. So we have that going for us.
Yeah. Yeah. America's emergency oil reserve is about to hit its lowest level since Reagan was in office. Mm. Hello. If insurance companies said energy companies are making record profits, why are they taxed Why are they taxed more?
I think he
Aren't.
probably said
Why aren't they
meant to say
taxed
was
more?
aren't.
Because they are given massive um, tax breaks.
Well, the tax code for oil companies allows them to write off depreciation, to write off future exploration, things like that. So they always end up paying close to zero anyway.
The investors are the ones making the money, so invest in oil and make money. Do you understand how life works, Dennis? Because I'm not sure you do. I think they just think that we magically have money to throw in and invest. The people that are suffering the most from this administration are the people that have no money. Who cares if other people have money? I mean, if their way of them getting money hurts people, me, called empathy and humanity. Oh, you're getting weird. By the way, Nancy Mace getting 5th place in the South Carolina governor's race. I was so happy about that.
Well, that's proof that there is a God.
Yeah. It is really nice to see some of the worst no longer being anywhere in office. And Nancy Mace was one of them. What's up, Nate?
What's going on? How are you?
Oh, just another day in paradise, brother.
Well, I just wanted to share a quick story. I made a video about it, but I'm in central Indiana. Diesel's like well over $5 a gallon still. Was in Kroger, the normal gas station, and I saw a farmer had just pulled up his semi underneath the canopy, just the cab, obviously. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And the farmer, he was using his Kroger points for diesel. And I thought that was interesting. And I took the opportunity to introduce myself because I'm running for office. And he said, we probably do need a change. And then he asked me what my opinion was on Trump. And I said, well, where do I begin? And then I said, more importantly, what's your opinion on Trump? I mean, you're a farmer. And he said, I'm starting to think he's not being president for the right reason. I think he just loves the money or trying to get rich. And I was like, yeah, greed's a problem. He said, you know what? He's like, are you a Democrat? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I haven't voted for Democrat in a long time, but I'll vote for you. And I said, okay, thank you. People can only deal with so much.
Yeah.
The cost of everything is insane. Wages haven't grown, in relation with the cost of living. We have a president who continually makes a complete fool of himself. And yet we have these guys that they just want to hold on. And I just want to give them a hug and say, hey, you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be scared of people that worship a different God. You don't have to be scared of people that love different people. That's all this is.
Mhm.
People hate what they don't know and what they've never had experience with. So I wish that a lot of men, white men in particular, would just take a second to look inside And I appreciate you doing all this work. I'm glad to see another man standing up, a man who believes in kindness and empathy and love, because that's what we need.
Yeah.
So I just want to pop in and say that.
Well,
I appreciate
Nate, before you leave, Nate, why don't you let the folks know where you're running, for what office and what district, and so that they can vote for you.
Sure. My name is Nate Stout, and I am running for the Indiana House of Representatives in District 38. So it's 6 counties across kind of central Indiana, heavy agriculture. And in Indiana, my number one issue is education. I'm a product of public education, but Indiana, like a lot of other red states, have continued to pull money away from the public school system and subsidize private education because they are literally trying to create a theocracy of this weaponized Christian nationalism. And if we don't have an educated population, none of this matters. If our kids aren't prepared to handle the problem solving skills of becoming an adult, none of this matters. So that's my number one issue. I'm not taking any corporate money. I did get the UAW endorsement. That might come with money. I don't know if that doesn't make me a progressive, but I don't really. I mean, at this point, we got to win no matter what. But yes, thank you, Scott. And that's Nate for 38 is I'm on TikTok, and then natefor38.com is all my other information.
And I also interviewed him. So if you want to see more, go over to the Tube or on, Apple and all those other places, and you can listen to the interview.
Well, Nate, good luck. This is going to be a blue wave year. That should help you out a lot in your district. And I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you win.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Gwendolyn, you need to bring it down. People have been screaming that all of what you're talking about is going to happen for the last since I've been alive. And you know what still hasn't happened? That. Because mutual destruction is a thing. Of course they are, Connor.
Only if they stay true to form, Connor. We can bank on it. Gwendolyn, please no caps. You've been asked a number of times now.
Again, I will say this. This is very important that everyone hear this. If more people don't get out and vote in the primaries, nothing will change. Nothing. We have a system that is set up. It's a two-party system. You don't like it, you need to get people in office in the two-party system that want to change the two-party system. That's just a fact. You can sit here and say you don't like it all you want. You can scream. You can scream all you want about everything. We do. We sit here and we talk every single day. And it's necessary. But if we don't actually fix anything, like if we don't actually get out and vote, none of it matters. None of it matters.
That was interesting listening to Nate, Mike. His story about talking with the farmer. We're starting to see thoughts like that crop up in the focus groups. People who have voted red their whole lives are beginning to question. That doesn't mean that they're going to vote blue, but it means that they've taken one big important step. And yesterday, or 2 days ago, rather, you had somebody up talking about, and those statistics were correct, the loss of support in his favorability rating by about 30 points in rural America. And that's Fox News polling that he was quoting from. And he's quite correct. Those are the right numbers. And it's that is a huge opportunity for the Democrats if they can capitalize on it. A huge opportunity. It means that for the first time in 20 years, people in rural America will at least listen to what they have to say. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to earn their vote, but if you go out and try and earn their vote, you might just get a fair listen. And that's all any candidate can ask for.
And yes, he lost. There is a reason that no president has done what this president has done, because you cannot win. You cannot win. It is not a winnable thing. Not only has he not actually achieved any of his stated goals, but nothing, even no matter what, everybody going through the strait is going to have to answer in some way, shape, or form to Iran.
Row 7, whatever it is. Am I okay with Jeffries? He wouldn't be my first choice, but yeah, I'd be okay with Jeffries. You're okay with Mike Johnson, the current speaker? You think he's doing a spectacular job? You think the current speaker's good?
But no, if I were going in as a member of the House, I would not vote for Jeffries. He would not be my choice. But again, all of this, it's like the statement of we the people have to force them to uphold what we want and not just their policies. Here's the thing that we need to understand about all of these, about a statement like that. Each member of the House represents their entire district. Each member of the Senate represents their entire state. How many people do you think in your district or your state actually agree with everything that you believe? I think if it comes down to it, probably less than 1%. Like truly believes exactly what you believe. This is why I'm frustrated with people that say things like that, because this is not how a democracy works. A democracy is not about getting your way. A democracy is about is a whole society of people that disagree, finding a way to work together to create a society that helps everybody. At least that's how it should be. That's how I see our society needing to be. That's what I care about. If your goal is that everyone you get in office is going to do what you want, you are going to be disappointed in every single person. Doesn't matter what party they were with, doesn't matter if they're from a third party. You will be disappointed every single time. That is a reality. Now, do I think we need to hold them accountable when they do something that we don't like? Sure. That's our right too. We should get out there and talk about things that every congressman and senator does that we don't like. We absolutely should do that. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle they're on. But there are things that we need to understand. If we're going to sit here and talk about if we as the people, and we're talking to people here who are obviously on the right and on the left here, if we the people cannot and are not willing to hold the same standards to both people, understanding that nobody is perfect. And so what do I mean by that? if you are going to get on somebody else, if you're going to get someone on the other side of the aisle about anything you don't like about them, and yet you support someone on your side, or you're unwilling to point or agree that it's not okay that someone on your side does the exact same thing, we're not. This is why we are sitting here in this division. It's not really, because again, Democrats, Republicans, those are corporations. So anyone that comes in and says, you know, you XYZ, this person needs to do X, Y, and Z, or this Democrats or Republicans are X, Y, and Z, they're corporations. Anyone can, I can put an R next to my name or a D next to my name whenever I want. No one can tell me otherwise.
Mike, I forgot to ask Nate, and he forgot to include it. When is Nate's primary?
He already had his primary.
Oh, so he won.
Well, he wasn't going up against anybody, so yes,
Got it.
he was unopposed.
Okay. Okay. So I'd unopposed. If he's a Democrat, I take it it's a deep red district then. District
Yes.
38. Yeah.
Currently not on either side. I feel both are just for themselves. Again, this is what I'm saying. It's not a side thing. There are people running in every district in primaries that want change, that want the things that we want. I've interviewed a lot of them, grassroots candidates that don't take PAC money, that want to be held accountable, that want to get rid of Citizens United, that want to get money out of politics as a whole, that want term limits. Like they want to put term limits on themselves. These people are running, but nobody gets out and votes in the primaries. So the incumbent, because of the way things happen, the incumbent wins like what? What's the percentage? 90, 95% of the time? As long as that's the case, we are going to struggle getting anything changed. As long as, are there people in both sides that are not good people? Yeah, obviously. There's a congressman got kicked out from both sides of the aisle just recently. We kicked out a senator in Jersey for doing some pretty shitty stuff. Again, a name next to a letter next to your name does not make you who you are. Democrats, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, by its very nature, are not good or bad. They have the capability of changing what they stand for every single year. I don't think people understand that. The Democratic Party as a whole, the Republican Party as a whole, could, with a flip of a switch, change what they stand for. Like that. There is nothing, there is no guarantee on anybody. Do I believe that a majority of the people that support progressive ideals, that have humanity and empathy, are the ones that currently run under the Democratic Party? Yes. Does that mean I agree with them all the time? Even most of the time, depending on who you're talking about? No.
William, while I'm an older person, and I take it you are too, what's the purpose of the trip down memory lane in your comments? You're obviously trying to make a point, but what is your point?
When was the last time a Democrat raised the tax rate on the 1% of the wealthy? far as I know, never. When's the last tax code that was created by a Democrat? Has there been an update on Neil from New Jersey? I haven't seen one. A waitress could buy 20 candy bars per hour. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Adam, to answer the question in chat, Adam Hamaway will probably easily win election in that district. It's a pretty blue district.
Where is comprehensive immigration reform? What are we paying legislators for? I mean,
we had the comprehensive immigration reform under President Biden, and at the last minute, private citizen Trump, and it was largely the Republican plan as it was written by a Republican senator from Oklahoma, and then Donald Trump got involved, and the Republicans backed out of the deal. We had a deal that gave the Republicans 90% of what we wanted, and in fact, Lindsey Graham went on the floor of the Senate and said, if we don't pass this, we're never going to get a better deal from our perspective again. And they didn't pass it. They pulled out after agreeing to it.
Well, William, you are saying a lot of things. I'm trying to understand what the point is. What is the point of all of these statements? The US dollar loses value. Banks around the world will hold a different currency. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this administration has done a great job getting us to that point. Those US dollars come flooding back. We are finished. We're already finished. This administration has guaranteed that to some extent. We are not going to go back to the way it was. We are going to spend decades recovering from this. I've seen people. The POTUS has nothing to do with inflation. False. The president does not have the capability of causing inflation in most cases, but they can absolutely do things that cause inflation. He can make choices. Starting a war in Iran that cuts 20% of the exports of oil and
tariffs. I mean, there's lots of things that Trump has done that have spiked inflation.
And this president is spending tons of money outside of Congress, trying to get Congress to approve more money for him to just spend that have no actual value to the United States, to the people of the United States. Trying to tell people that he's going to start using the UFC cage thing as a form of diplomacy. The Democrats have been at war with fossil fuel.
How have they been at war with fossil fuels?
At the time that Biden left, we were producing more oil drilling for more oil in the United States, more energy in the United States than we ever had. Democrats run California and they pay higher fee. William,
Okay.
we're done. Just let him talk. You can just let him talk now. Let's see, what other stuff? This is an interesting survey. There's a survey. European Council on Foreign Relations did a survey, and only one country in Europe now sees US as an ally.
Who are they? Who's the one country?
What I'm looking.
Albania?
It looks like Poland.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And even them barely.
We've burned a hell of a lot of bridges, that's for sure. With our European allies, with the EU, and as evidenced by the trade deals they're cutting, they will get along with us just fine, without us just fine.
What's up, PJ? Thoughts on these data centers? A lot more regulation. We don't need as many as we're making. I mean, I think a lot of stuff needs to happen in regards to AI. I mean, for no other reason than we are dealing with a massive drought in the United States, and these data centers aren't going to help that either. So thank you, Patty.
You know, it's interesting. We were talking, about a month or so ago, Mike, and we talked about how utility bills are going to be the sleeper issue in the 2026 midterms, and that's certainly coming to fruition. People are very upset about their utility bill prices. And I had said, and I think AI will be the sleeper issue for the 2028 election. I may have been wrong about that. It appears that a lot of people are getting upset about AI and that this is an issue that is growing rapidly. And they're worried about two things. One, a general unease about AI to begin with and what it means for their future jobs or what it's going to look like. And the second one is what the question had, the AI data centers. What's interesting to me is that politically, this is one of the very few issues where there's no discernible difference between Democratic unease about this or Republican unease. It seems to be universal throughout the electorate. And the Republican position, the Trump administration's position of taking a laissez-faire attitude towards AI seems to be completely at variance with the views of the American people on this. And this issue is growing and it's metastasizing and it's coming at us pretty quickly. So I think it will have some impact on the 2026 midterms. And on this position, the Trump administration has very little backing, even within the Republican Party. Republican voters are just as concerned about AI as Democratic voters are. So it's one of the rare issues that cuts both ways, and it seems to be gathering and metastasizing as an issue much faster than I thought it would.
River Babe, it is definitely harder to know whether what you're hearing is truth or a lie. It's not impossible. You just have to do more work than you used to. And one thing that we as a whole, and I say this as a whole because we as a whole are pretty bad at it, is ignoring our biases to find the truth. That is the biggest problem that we have. We all have our biases. We all have our opinion on things, and we tend to look for information that validates what we think is true and completely ignore the actual truth. We all need to get better at that. Do I think some groups are better than others at doing that? Yes, I do. Do I think it's a problem nationwide with all people to some extent? Yeah, I do. I think it's really easy, especially when the more frightening society gets, the easier it is to look for information that validates your opinion on things, because it gives you a sense of calm to find something that helps you feel like you understand what's going on in the world, that you're right. I love the fact that AOC and Bernie Sanders are going to these red counties. Yeah, I think it's great. I think more people need to go. Again, if we really want change, again, this just goes down to, do you really want change? It requires us to be more involved, not just in federal politics, but state. What does socialism mean? What do you see as socialism? You want to have that conversation? We can talk about whether or not socialism is good. What do you see as socialism? And what do you see as bad about socialism that is worse than what 50% of the country is experiencing right now? I don't think we need pure socialism either. I don't think pure anything is actually good. I like some of the ideas in socialism and why am I blanking on the other one?
MAGA 2020. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No. You can ask. Feel free.
Yeah, MAGA 2025. Just what do you think Medicare and Social Security are? I mean, you're terrified of socialism, but what do you think Medicare is? What do you think Social Security is?
Communism. That was the other one. There are things I like about the idea of communism. Do I like communism as a whole? No. I don't think communism would work as a whole. I think the thing that we always struggle with when it comes to any of these isms is the fact that people by their very nature are not always good. Social Security is not a train wreck. What do you mean Social Security is a train wreck? Social Security is the most successful entity to ever happen in the United States, especially. Like there is no more successful system that the United States has ever put together than Social Security. The reason it's struggling right now is because it didn't get updated to the realities of 2026. Yeah, that's because we have a limit on how much people can pay into it. If you make over $200,000, you stop paying into it. That's why it's insolvent.
Well, that and the fact that it begins at an age that has not gone up commensurate to the average life expectancy, too.
Well, that too.
Yeah, I mean that puts a strain on it, and also Social Security has been used for purposes that it wasn't originally intended for, throughout the decades, and that has also put a financial strain on it. So yeah, there's some problems with it, but they're math problems. They can be fixed pretty easily.
MAGA 2025, just say you don't care about other people. That's fine. Just say you don't care about other people. Totally. It is what it is. They absolutely could fix it, and multiple economists have given ways that they could fix it. I disagree. And I disagree that it's not your job. It is society's job to take care of each other. That is part of a society.
So you care about other people unless you actually have to do something that helps take care of them. Okay, got it. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you for proving my point that you don't care about other people. Thank you for not knowing what life was like for people before Social Security existed, to think that it's not necessary, that it has no value to it. This is the same thing with people that think we shouldn't have, the jabs, or that OSHA shouldn't exist anymore, or all these other regulations that came to be for a reason, and they think because we haven't experienced it for a while, or it's annoying now, that we just don't need it anymore. They always take it too far. Again, you obviously don't know what life was like before those existed to make that statement.
MAGA, do you have any idea what life was like during the Industrial Revolution for children who were working in factories and in coal mines? And if they got hurt, there was no medical care. There was nothing. They simply lost their job and lost their livelihood. There was no unemployment, no medical care, no OSHA, no safety conditions, nothing.
And the idea that you think we could get rid of these things and things wouldn't go back to the way they were is hilarious. Yeah, I would argue the stock market is more of a Ponzi scheme than Social Security is. At least now. Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. You obviously don't know what a Ponzi scheme is to make that statement.
MAGA 2025, could you explain how Social Security is a Ponzi scheme? I'd be interested in that. You're saying it's a Ponzi scheme. If you could just illuminate us as to how it is a Ponzi scheme.
They've never seen people starving in the streets. That's why they think the way they do. Most of the people that lack empathy do not care, have not experienced any of it. 4.2 is far off from the 12% predictions that were given in 2025. Nobody predicted 12%, or at least I never saw a prediction of 12%. Someone may have, sure. Things have also changed since the beginning of 2025. Let's see if I get any money out of it by the time I retire. We put a lot of money into things that we don't get out of. That's, again, part of being in a society. My money goes into fixing roads that I've never driven on. My money goes into fixing a lot of things that I've never benefited from.
Okay, just repeating that it's a Ponzi scheme doesn't make it so. You've yet to articulate any reason whatsoever that you think it's a Ponzi scheme. So either you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is, or you've trapped yourself in a box and don't know how to get out of it.
Guarantee I help more people than you have in your lifetime. Okay. Uh-huh. Here you have. I love it when they say statements that cannot be proven ever. They have no there is no basis for that.
Which is why they say them.
Yep. Schools. Yeah. I'm okay paying for schools to keep going because schools help society. Why are you against helping society? It should be our choice, not forced. No, it shouldn't be your choice. Having everyone have a choice in who gets support or not, again, that is not part of being in a society. I know you're agreeing. I was agreeing with you. I was agreeing with that statement. The fact that you believe that your money should be able to go only where you want it to ignores the reality that all of society does not have everything to do with you.
And as for schools, we've had funding of public schools since the 1850s in this country, and it's worked out very well for us in terms of increasing the amount of education that the average American has. That's money well spent. That isn't wasted money. That's money well spent.
Having 6 kids you can't afford and expecting everyone else to support them is BS. Who says that? Who is saying that? What person who has had 6 kids that they can't afford, and what percentage of the people that are being supported are those people? I don't know anyone with 6 kids. Certainly don't know anyone that is expecting everyone else to help them.
Well, I agree with you, Mike, but let's take that as he put the example. Let's take somebody who has 6 kids and expects the government. Let's take the worst case example. I would answer, what are we supposed to do with the children? Let them suffer? Is that your answer? Let the kids suffer? Is that the best you can come up with?
Or let's even take it a farther step up. Let's make it so people can afford to live with kids. When we're living literally in an affordability crisis, where you cannot afford to survive on the wages that are being given for most of the country. Company trying to put a data center in our town got harassed so much they pulled out the application, so we will be able to ban data centers in our town. Heck yeah. Most countries are having a replacement problem. Yeah, because most people can't afford to survive. Or, you know, women are going in the workplace and not having families. That's what you're seeing a lot here. Why would anyone want to start a family knowing that they can't afford to survive? Heck, there are actually Republicans that are complaining that part of our problem, the reason we're not having enough kids, is not enough teenagers are having kids. They actually said it on TV with a camera on them. Yeah. Children having children. And again, no one here, neither Scott or I, are saying things are perfect from any party ever. But don't all I'm saying is, if you are going to point out a problem on one side, don't pretend that there's not a problem on the other. When we sit here and we point out a problem and then you go, but this was this case somewhere else, do you think it's a problem? If you think it's a problem, then it should be a problem no matter who's president. And that should be a conversation that you should be willing to have. And if you're not, then there are too many problems going on in this country right now for us to be sitting here just blaming any one group or one person. We are currently living in as the result of 80 years of voters as a whole being ignorant, willfully ignorant, not getting involved, not learning, and allowing 15 to 25% of the country to decide who runs things. That's what we're dealing with. Both sides.
Couldn't agree with you more, Mike. The issue here is getting more people involved in the electoral process. That is, after all, the essence of a democracy. Why is that really important for, let's say, Congress? Because there's only about 31 out of 435 districts that are really competitive. So if you're not voting in the primaries, it's too late, even if you want to vote in November to get the candidate you want, because for all but 31 of those districts, it's a foregone conclusion who's going to win the seat. So that's why it's so important to vote in primaries, and yet we don't. And then we complain about our choices and we complain about our Congress. Well, we're doing it ourselves by not voting.
Kenny, if you think our vote doesn't matter, why is this administration doing so much to try and make it difficult for people to vote in the first place? Vote absolutely matters. The problem is a majority of people don't vote. Both parties are to blame for... No, parties are not people. We, the people, are to blame. because we don't actually get involved and don't actually get out there and do anything as a whole. There are some that do, and there are some that are angry and upset for perfectly valid reasons. They've gotten involved, they tried, and they don't see any changing. And I understand the anger as someone who has been screaming for years now about getting people to vote in primaries. It's quite frustrating to see that the numbers aren't changing. But to say that the parties by their very nature are the problem, they're not. We are. We as the people, as a whole, have decided that we don't do politics. We did it for decades. I remember growing up being told my vote didn't matter, so why bother? So myself and many of my friends didn't vote for a while. We don't know what's going on. People don't know what's going on in the world or in their country. All we did was vote. Didn't vote in primaries. All we did was vote back and forth between Republican and Democrat, or vote Republican because they had an R next to the name, or vote Democrat because they had a D next to their name. We are the problem. It's just the way it is. I know it's easy and it makes you feel better to blame other people. Trust me, I understand that. It's so much less painful to just say that it's somebody else's fault. And we will be straight and honest here. This administration has done a lot of stuff to blame. Tariffs, a war, a myriad other things. There's plenty of blame to go around. It doesn't change the fact that we got ourselves here, not in the last 10 years. This was decades in the making. This is the outcome of decades of no accountability, of no work. The war is already over? No. The war is not over. It's part of the reason we lost. And you know what, Steve? You may be right. But to some extent, see you, PJ. There are some people that don't care, and they have every reason to feel that way. I think there are a lot of ignorant people. I think I'm ignorant in some ways. Best way to turn people off is by calling names. Yeah.
As a general rule, I would agree with that. However, there are times when people are just plain ignorant, and that needs to be called out too. So, it works. It really does work two ways.
It depends what your point is. It depends what your goal is. There are certain people that we're not going to change their minds on it. In the end, I've said this before, nothing I say is going to get them to change their minds. Nothing. They don't know me. You guys don't know me, especially the people that just came in here. You don't know me. I've had people call me lots of things that I didn't like, but were true. Do you think I like it when do you think it feels good when people talk about, when women talk about men being the problem? Sometimes it's uncomfortable even for me. But it's still true. Throwing that out to generalize, everyone turns them away. And you know what, Steve? What we're doing here is not for everyone. That's one thing I've had to learn. Could we do things better sometimes? Sure, absolutely we could. We can always do things better. Trust me, having just gone through it in this community, can always do things better. But that being said, if being called ignorant is enough to make you not being willing to listen at all, then you probably weren't going to listen in the first place to me. That's a reality. Like, ignorant is probably the bottom of the barrel of what I have and would consider calling some people. Like, if you aren't willing to stick around when someone says someone calls you ignorant, then you probably aren't really wanting to have a conversation with me. You're just going for a gotcha moments or something like that. Now, again, I hear what you're saying, and there is validity to it. I think one of the things that I have had to learn the hard way is that I'm not for everyone. What I'm doing here isn't for everyone.
Exactly, Caroline.
And you know what, Steve? I respect your ability to do it. You have every right to. And I appreciate the fact that you keep coming back. Did you see they're taking the statue down from in front of the White House? I did not see that. I think it's easy for you guys in chat, and this is not in any way meant to degrade you guys. I think it's very easy for people in chat to not understand what it's like to deal with all kinds of people in doing what I'm doing. You guys, like you said, Steve, you see something that you don't like, you just turn it off. You walk away. It's easy. This is one of my jobs. I don't get that ability to walk away. And if you think hearing people come in and call me stupid and a bunch of other worse names because I'm saying things that they don't like or don't agree with doesn't get to me sometimes and I snap, or when people are having a conversation about me and what I do in my own chat, kind of disrespectful. And I don't respect people that lack humanity. One of my jobs, user blah blah blah, yeah, I do a lot of different things that make money. You consider a job, you consider something that makes money a job? I do. If I make money doing what I'm doing, that's a job. Is it my full-time job? No, it's not. But yes, I get very defensive when people come in and speak out against the lives of other human beings. If you come in here and you don't think that marginalized communities deserve the kind of rights, respect, and dignity that others do, if what you say and who you support actively endangers those people, yeah, I struggle being super respectful. I struggle with that. I'll admit it, because those are human beings. And as someone who has spent 47 years in the church, I consider all of them God's creation, whether or not they believe or not. And they deserve the same level of rights, respect, and dignity as everyone.
Well, Mike, it sort of goes back to the comment made before, the supposition of a woman having six children and then trying to scam the system. Even assuming that to be true in a couple of instances, it begs the issue, what about the children? They're clearly not at fault. And that's where your empathy and your humanity have to come in. If you would deny those children any care because of something that their parent may or may not have done, that's showing a disturbing lack of empathy and a disturbing lack of humanity.
Yep.
The children are blameless. So even in that person's example, that example is faulty because it assumes that the children should be cut off. And,
But we also, again, we as a society have stopped viewing society as a whole and very much encouraged people to just view it from their little bubble. That is part of the problem that we're dealing with as well, right? Because we've got...
Well, that's been part of the problem since the beginning of our country. We value individualism in America more so than a nation like China or Russia, which views the society as a whole as being the primary unit. So the part of it is the entire concept of being an American is to be an individual citizen, but that shouldn't mean that we don't have common responsibilities for the overall welfare of our nation as a whole. And that seems to be what has been lost in the last 25 years.
And I think that is why it feels as though the distance between the two groups is greater than it has ever been. Because I think there is one group of people that want it to stay that way. And there's another group of people that don't. And then there is a third group of people that just don't care enough to get involved in any way, shape, or form. They're not actively against it, but they're not actively for it. They are just living their lives. And that's almost as much, if not more, of a problem than the discrepancy of the two sides. Because again, how can we get anything fixed when when a large portion of the country does not care enough to get involved. How can we do it? Which is why I've always said that, you know, in the end, this country has been very much a we only get involved when we feel like it is hurting us more to not than it is to. When we are forced into it. Like when something bad enough happens that it's in our face and we can't ignore it. Because that is what happens a lot, is people are trying to ignore everything.
Yeah, I agree. Look, individualism is in and of itself is a laudatory concept. I get that. I understand that. It is, after all, the essence of our Declaration of Independence. But that doesn't obviate the need to care for the common good. And that seems to be what's getting lost in the shuffle here.
Yeah. Yep. And I think there are a lot of people that, probably more than we realize, that want us as a society to take care of each other. Because again, the whole point of all of it, like we sit here and we talk about insurance. I have no problem with top level idea of insurance, i.e., it costs money to do these kind of things. Young people need it less, but they still pay into it. And as they get older, they start using the money that the next group of younger people pay into it. That's how a society works. You may not use it now, but you will use it in the future. And the point is they're supposed to help each other. But that's not what's happening. And we've got to get humanity back into the world to some extent. And I know we as a political system, I've had this conversation with different people, you know, we talk about not wanting to talk about these social issues, and I get that. In the end, I think that is why we are dealing with the problems of the war in Iran and tariffs and AI and all of this other stuff. And yes, it's important to focus on the things that are affecting people in order to get them to listen. But it really does still come back to this idea that we as a whole, we as a society, do not care enough about America as a society and all the people in it to fight for all of us. We care about the people that agree with us. We care about the people that are doing what we think is the right thing. But that's not how a society works, because again, I think if we really went down to the brass tacks of what everyone believes, very few, if any, actually believe and agree on everything. So we're all like justifying our ability to trust somebody at some point. We're all willing to ignore something we don't like about somebody for the greater good. I am 47. We all work in jobs that we don't like because we need things like health insurance. Did that for a long time.
Yet another reason to have a single payer plan, so that people don't get stuck in jobs that they hate only because of the health insurance. And Mike, you're not alone. I can't begin to guess, but I would say about 25% of the American population is working in a job that they don't like because of healthcare. I think that's probably about right.
Then I should know what user blah, 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 blah. What do you think I should know?
Maybe he wants you to know the secret to life.
Well, if you go by a certain book, it's the number 42. Only 8% showed up in the Texas primaries, the second largest state in the U.S. Yep. About insurance. I do know about insurance. I just talked about it.
What's your point, user? Well, what are we missing about the subject of insurance? Educate us.
The reality, at least the way I see it, is all things that are considered necessary for survival should not be for profit in this country, in any country.
So that's your answer. Okay. Thank you. That explains it.
Yeah. And again, for people that complain about the ACA, if this was pre-ACA, my Parkinson's would be a reason to lose insurance. I would have a pre-existing condition. Hey, Mama Bear. I didn't ask to get Parkinson's. I didn't do anything to get Parkinson's. Why should I not have access to healthcare because of something I had no control over?
Absolutely. That's been one of the unheralded gifts of the ACA, is protecting people from getting booted off their insurance because of a precondition. One of the other things is that people between the ages of 50 and 65 did not get hammered with massive price increases. The ACA kept the price down for older Americans. And finally, it allowed people to keep their children on their policy, I believe, until 25 or 26.
And it allowed small business owners to have health insurance.
Absolutely.
It increased the number of small business owners by a lot.
One of the largest groups who purchased ACA insurance is indeed that, Mike, small business owners.
And I just sit here and I go, can you imagine how many more small businesses would be started if, instead of giving a company whose only goal is to make money for their shareholders thousands of dollars, it went into a fund whose only job was to help pay for the health insurance of the country?
And
everybody got.
Very good point in chat was brought up by Kat. The ACA also eliminated lifetime expenditures. In other words, if you have a serious illness, you're covered. You don't have to worry about hitting a cap and then being bounced, which is, people forget the bad old days before the ACA. It was awful having health insurance. I was paying more in health insurance as a younger person, paying more health insurance than I was paying for my mortgage. And there's something wrong with that picture.
Did you see what Billy wrote in '07? My liver was shutting down because a doctor left my bile duct in, and my insurance said it was pre-existing and would not pay for 7 days.
Yeah, Billy, though your story is the same of millions of other Americans. And not only that, under Blue Cross Blue Shield in my state, New Jersey, they did cap what their price increase could be at 15%. So they went up 15% every single year I had it. And I had it for decades. Every single year, another 15% price increase, along with lifetime caps on what I could use it for. It was a nightmare.
Yep. The freedom to leave jobs for something better is another reason. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's perhaps the best reason of all for a national healthcare system. In addition, insurance companies make between 15 and 20% of premium as profit. That would go down to about 1%. That's all it costs the government to run Medicare, is about 1% in operating costs of premium. So we would save that money right off Jump Street. Another thing is that you could negotiate significantly lower hospital and drug prices because you're dealing with 340 million customers. So that gives you tremendous bargaining power. So I don't see any negatives to a national healthcare system, none.
I mean, just think about how much better, because right now, pretty much the only real bonus, quote unquote, that a job gives you, the thing that most people look for, is that they provide health insurance. Can you imagine what the bonuses, what the extras that they would have to give instead of that, if everyone just had healthcare? Like, they'd actually have to do things that actually mattered to people that were working, not just health. Like, it's the fact that health insurance is really why people are working, that these companies know they can pretty much treat you however the hell they want, and you won't leave in most cases.
And for those of you who are against a national healthcare system, A, I'd like to know why, but B, or Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it. B, have you ever worked in a job that you didn't like and you couldn't leave because of the healthcare? I know very few people who haven't been in that situation. They needed that healthcare. They knew if they left the job, they'd lose their healthcare. So they stayed in a job that made them miserable.
Brian,
if you had national health care, that wouldn't happen.
Brian, I think you misunderstand how mutual destruction in the United States has worked over the last 80 years, and the idea of it, and why some of the worst places in the country. You're worried about Iran? North Korea is just as frightening. They've got it. Why haven't they used it? Because mutual destruction is a thing. This administration has caused every country to realize that the best way to prevent the United States and people as dumb as this administration from doing what they're doing is to have what North Korea has, and what the United States has, and what Russia has, and France, and the UK.
And you know, Brian, I agree with your construct that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. I agree with that. Their regime is different. They're a theological, terroristic state. I have nothing good to say about the Iranian regime. But that doesn't answer the question. The question is, what is the best way to effectuate that policy? Now, under the ACA or whatever it was called, Mike, the acronym for that, the joint, the Obama thing, the treaty that we had with Iran, we at least delayed any enrichment beyond a low level for a long period of time. It was under international IAEA inspection, and that inspection was working out. So what are we doing now to effectuate a better outcome on the nuclear issue? I would argue that we have achieved none of our war aims. We had 4 basic war aims going into this war: to limit their ballistic missiles, to stop their aid to their proxies, namely Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah, to obtain this 970 pounds of enriched uranium, and to effectuate regime change. Well, we've done none of that. We haven't gotten any of our war aims satisfied, and we've now lost the Straits of Hormuz. So I fail to see how this war has accomplished anything.
Brian, you say it's simple. How far do you want to go? The person you are supporting is the reason that they even have any to begin with. That's, again, you are sitting here supporting the guy for saying, putting out a fire that he started and saying, look, we're doing a great thing. No, we're not. We're not.
I still don't see what any answer that you might have, Brian, for how anything Donald Trump is doing is effectuating any of the goals that we set out at the start of this war. I see absolutely no progress being made towards effectuating any of those goals. Any of them. We're batting over.
That's why I say we already lost. There's again, the other country that is a part of this, the world is, I disagree that the world is safer. Who feels safe right now?
No, I think he's saying if Iran never had a nuclear device. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that as a general statement. But what I disagree with is anything that this war or this president has done to get us closer to that eventuality. Unfortunately, it appears to me as if all we have done is give Iran one hell of a motivation to actually go ahead and complete the process of building nuclear weapons. We have achieved the exact opposite of what we have set out to do.
I mean, the reality, if you want to go real general in that kind of a statement, the entire world would be better if nobody had them. The United States, Russia, UK, France, Pakistan, India. We haven't taken away the ability. We haven't taken away their ability.
As long as they have the scientists, they will have the ability. As long as they have the scientists and the money and the access to what they need, and they already have 970 pounds, so they will have the ability. And now they have the motivation. So great job. Again, Brian, I accept your construct that the world is a better place without a nuclear-armed Iran. I'll accept that at face value. But I fail to see anything that we have done to further us along to that goal. In fact, quite the opposite.
And no, the ideology of Iran is not different. I know you think it's different. I know you feel it's different because you've been told it's different. It's really not. And I know you say, and I know what you're probably going to say, it's because they hate us and they say they want to destroy us. Well, you know, maybe we shouldn't have interfered in their everything 47 years ago. They have every right to not like us because we have done nothing but interfere in their entire country. I have been in the Middle East many times. Have you been there? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Actually, our interference with Iran goes all the way back to 1953 when we overthrew the democratically elected prime minister.
Right. Again, if you were them, you were anyone in the Middle East, and you saw us coming in there and telling them what they can or can't do without anything, would you like us? I got a great idea. Let's stop telling everyone else how they need to live as though we have a clue how to live ourselves. This country, our country, is crashing and burning around us. And we're spending billions of dollars on nothing. We have failed and we will fail. We will not get what we want. And if there does come a time that some deal is made that does allow for Iran to not have nuclear armaments, we will get less out of it than we did in the JCPOA. No, we don't want the US to fail. We just have. No, it's not a question. There's a reason that no president has done what this president has done.
Look, Iran is a country of 93 million people. They're a huge country, about 2.5 times the size of the state of Texas. So they're a monstrously large country, and it is very mountainous. Therefore, how, by kinetic military action, do you expect to end their nuclear program or anything else that you may want, like regime change? How is that actually going to work in actuality? We've tried doing it by air power. That hasn't worked. That hasn't worked. We didn't take out 90% of their ballistic missiles. We didn't take out 90% of their drones, as Pete Hegseth proudly announced 1 week into the war. In fact, the CIA now reports it's less than 30%, and they're rebuilding their missile stocks as we speak. So we've accomplished very little. So again, what are you going to do? Garrison a nation of 93 million people?
Yeah,
That's 2.5 times the size of Texas. Do you have any idea how many millions of troops that would take? You cannot get regime change or greatly change a regime from air power alone.
Not to mention, let's even say that only half of the people in that country at the moment before this war started supported the current regime. I guarantee that number is smaller, that were against this regime because of what this country and the I country has done. And you think that they're going to be even happier to have would they be even happier if the United States military came in and did it? Their economy is destroyed. It is no more destroyed than it was, because you know what's happening is they're getting money from people that they're allowing to go through the strait, and they are putting their oil in other tankers with other oil that's not Iranian, and they're getting paid for it.
Brian, your second sentence sums up the problem that we have here. Their economy is destroyed. Yes, you need boots on the ground for real change. Well, that's the key, isn't it? Because we're not willing to put the amount of boots on the ground that would be necessary, because that's la-la land. It would take our entire military to subjugate that nation. And frankly, the militaries of other nations as well. And we haven't bothered to build any type of coalition for our war of choice against Iran. So that's why we're in the place that we're in now. We thought that we could just throw in a bunch of missiles and a bunch of kinetic action using air power alone. And for the scump-the-eighth time in history since the Second World War, we have discovered that air power alone cannot do it. We should have learned that lesson in Vietnam. We didn't. And we ended up with 500,000 troops over there, and we still didn't win the war.
Vinny, the only way to get what have been the stated goals would be to put boots on the ground. It's the only way. It's the only way.
And Mike, a lot of boots on the ground. Not 50,000, not 100,000, not 300,000, much more than that we would need.
Our entire military.
And we're not going to pay that price.
It would be all million of our boots on the ground troops. I'm not even sure that would be enough. Again, Russia, who is more than willing to throw millions upon millions of people into anything it does, wasn't able to take Afghanistan because of the mountains. And Iran's got more mountains.
Yeah, look at the topography of Iran, look at the size of their population, 93 million people, and look at their massive size. Again, they're 2.5 times the size of Texas. This is a very large country, and it is mountainous.
Think about what's happening internally with Iranian citizens. Yeah, they're blaming the United States. I know you believe that they're blaming their leadership. Nah. I must support Iran? In what way do you think I support them? You seem to think you have the inside scoop. Like, you're literally talking like you know what they're thinking. So why is my perspective any different than yours? You think I haven't talked to people from the Middle East? You think I haven't interacted with people who know that area? You don't even think I understand how extremists exist? I mean, I wasn't talking to you, Mama Bear. You need a job is what you need to do. Oh, sounds like you need a job.
I knew it would come back to that. Which begs the question, what the heck are you doing here? Why aren't you working? If you're criticizing Mike or me, why aren't you working?
And again, how can I put myself in their place? I would think exactly what I would be thinking if it was happening to me. I don't like this administration. In fact, I hate this administration. But you think that I would sit here and support another country that just came in and started bombing us willy-nilly? You think I'd just magically be like, oh, I love these people that are coming in and bombing us?
Look, we can take as a given that the Iranian regime is odious. Nobody is defending that regime. Nobody. But as somebody correctly pointed out in chat, and I apologize for not grabbing your name, the scroll moved too fast. Regime change in Iran is only going to be effectuated by Iranians themselves. It's not going to be done outside by the United States, and certainly not using air power alone. All we have accomplished vis-a-vis air power is put a more ruthless group of people in the IRGC in charge of that country. That's all we've accomplished.
And again, our meddling, as Turgay just said, our meddling in Iran is the reason that the revolution happened in the first place. We cannot stop meddling in other people's lives. Do the young people like the regime there? No, probably don't. For very valid reasons. But if you think they want to change, they want to trade like They want to trade their current regime with one that will just come in and randomly bomb them what they're seeing. I don't. True, but you can't go back in time. No, but you can learn from your mistakes. Our meddling caused this. Why do you think our meddling is going to fix it? There's more support than you think. What do you mean? There's more support of us? I doubt it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it. Not anymore, at least. Right, because one person is going to tell you what 93 million people think. Again, 93 million people. That's like me saying that everyone thinks like I do in the United States when I know that's not true. Just because those are the only videos I see on social media. Are there people in Iran that don't support this regime and do support the United States, though? I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are.
And again, Mike, and I know you're getting ready to close because it's afternoon. Again, the issue is not whether we think that the Iranian regime are a bunch of great guys. No, they're thugs. They're an absolute terroristic state. I cannot stomach the Iranian regime. But we've been at this now for 3 months. We haven't taken away their ballistic missiles. We haven't stopped their aid to their proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. We haven't gotten our hands on the 97 pounds of enriched uranium, and we sure as hell haven't gotten any regime change. In fact, it's gotten worse. So what we're doing clearly isn't working. I'll accept Brian's construct that the world is a better place if Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. But that begs the issue of what the most effective way of achieving that goal is.
Harold, one person who lives in Iran has the same level of perspective as one person in the United States does of their country who lives in rural America and only watches Fox News. They have their perspective. They have their group of people, and those are valid perspectives. But they don't know what's going on with 93 million people any more than any of us know what's going on with 330 million people. That's why I keep saying we just need to get the hell out and stop telling people what they have and have not do. If Iran is actually, and I'm talking actually becoming a threat, do you not think that most of the rest of the world would support this country, support us, support each other in order to make sure that someone who supports terrorism like Iran doesn't get something like that? Yeah, I think they would. But this is not what's happening here. This is one country that the leader, Bibi, has been saying for what? Every year for the last 10 years, easy, that they are 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away. I'm sure that's where this president learned the 2 weeks thing. Because Bibi's been saying it about Iran every year. Every year. No, I'm not afraid of North Korea because mutual destruction is a thing. That one person right now would give a little more perspective than no, they wouldn't give any new perspective, because every perspective that we have is one that I guarantee someone in there has. That's the point. We're sitting here deciding for Iran what they are going to do, what they want, what they need, what they have to have. And we're just going in and doing whatever the hell we want. When we can't even take care of our own society, let alone anyone else's. We went into Venezuela. We didn't make Venezuela any better for the Venezuelans. I know no one's talking about it anymore, but it's not any better there.
Well, in Venezuela, we took out the head thug and we left all the other thugs in there.
Mm-hmm.
So what have we really accomplished? Beats me. And by the way, where's all that oil we're supposed to get from them? Oh,
I mean,
well.
they are exporting more oil, but it's not, again, it's not more than what we are losing, because they still are a horrible government that is running things.
They aren't going to get the $100 billion that it's been estimated that would take to rebuild their oil infrastructure, and that would obviously come from American companies largely.
And that would take
They're not going
years
to get
do
that
anyways.
until they have a real legal system, because these companies operate on contracts, and right now Venezuela doesn't have a real legal system, so those companies aren't going to go in there.
Yep. All right. Guys, I appreciate everyone that has hung out and talked about this stuff. Again, none of this is easy. I will admit, I feel like there are still a lot of people that aren't actually listening to anything we're saying, but I guess that's just what we've got to live with right now. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the gifts. I appreciate it. If you have not gone over and listened to the today's post over on the tube, again, I'm posting people that progressives that want to make real change in this world. So please go over and support them, help get them name recognition, et cetera, et cetera. That'd be very helpful for them, and I know they would appreciate it as well as I would. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. You guys are amazing just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile, do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.